All right. Good afternoon, Bali. All right. So it's very happy to be here with a lot of panelists. Uh, it was like, wow. So this is going to be a panel discussion, but I will try to do it something different. So if we can have my slides, we will start with a question. Before we were talking about fostering sustainable brand reputation, we will ask this question. I would like to start with Silvia. Why? Why the brands over here, why they have to become sustainable brand? Maybe they start thinking or haven't planned it. Why?
Before answering your question, may I say that I would like to thank all the speakers because I've been inspired a lot these 2 days, learning a lot, and I would like to thank you, Mr. Boy and Mrs. Brita, for this amazing event for good because it's really, really very inspiring and learningful. Secondly, I want to say that I'm coming from France, from Paris, and my friend Noelia, who is from Africa, and she said, she's board of director, and she said, Jambo. Do you know how do you say Jambo in France? Bonjour.
Oh.
And do you know how do you say it in Spanish? Because I'm Franco-Spanish. Hola, muy bien. Great. So I'm speaking about Europe because I'm representing Europe. I'm chairing the European Council. And Europe is the country who wants to pollute the least by 2050. And this is a great commitment. And we are at huge environmental and social change. Customers now pay attention more and more at what we consume, how we consume. And brands have no choice. No choice. They have to commit. And they have to commit with concrete actions, with real actions, sincere actions. As we have 10 years ago with the digital technology, if brands don't pivot to sustainability, they won't survive anymore because they need to meet customer expectations, because they need to regain trust. And trust is reputation. And reputation is business. And the communication industry, it's a powerful industry. By its own, it's like every industry has an impact on his footprint, either environmental or social, okay, how we pollute, how we hire our employees, but also it's very powerful because he can influence people. He can influence ways of consuming. He can even change laws. And we, communication professionals, we have a responsibility, a key role to play to help the society, the planet, go for good, okay? Promoting good behaviors, fighting stereotypes. We spoke about gender stereotypes, morphology stereotypes, sex stereotypes. So we need to be responsible on this. And I'm very proud of the Global Alliance open call to the United Nations to integrate communication, responsible communication as a goal, an important goal, and this is key nowadays, particularly in an environment where social media and artificial intelligence.
Nice, thank you. And now I would like to go to my Nguyen. Many research and research shows that a shift in consumer preference towards sustainable products. How significant do you think the shift?
All right, this is my show.
All right.
Because Yoris said that our panel will be different.
Yes.
I'll be here presenting my own part in a different way. I am not a PR manager. I am a PR entertainer. And I'm going to present my point as a storytelling entertainer. What it means by sustainable brand reputation, it's hard to understand just by giving you like an academic explanation. I will use my own story to tell you what it means. All right? That is the story of Bali. And why I'm here. My 10th time here. Let me tell you one story. And this is why I copy Minister Retno this morning. I booked my room in Bali at the Bali Sunshine Hotel. And when I came, all of a sudden, my room didn't show up on the system. It means that I didn't have a room. But you know what? They sent the manager of the hotel to come down and sort out the problem for me quickly. And after like 2 minutes, I got my room in a much better place, which is Eco Sharon Resort Benoa. Because they didn't want to disappoint me as a visitor. All right? And when I came, I got, my bag of gift from Ibu Prita. I got my name on the bag. I got my pocket square because Ibu knows exactly that I love to wear pocket square. And today I'm wearing, the pocket square with Bali design. Woo. I don't have question later on, so let me finish my show, all right? And then I met my liaison officer, Asti. Where is Asti?
Asti.
You can imagine the way she takes care of me. Hey, Mr. Me, where are you right now? Time to go. Wake up. The car is there for you. Where are you for lunch? Where are you sitting? Every 10 minutes, she sent me a message. She takes care of me more than the way my wife takes care of me. And then I booked my car to Ubud. And the car owner company, he said, sir, let me tell you, you have only 5 hours and Ubud is far. I have to tell you that I don't want to disappoint you because you have to arrange your time within your time frame. So be quick, be realistic with your day because we don't want to disappoint you. That's the key word of Bali. And then Pak Boy, he has been having 12 nightmarish months reporting to the board every month on the way he and his team and you guys put together this great entertaining conference. Yay. That is sustainable brand reputation. Because brand reputation at the end of the day is brand love. And brand love is determined by two things: emotional connection and behavioral loyalty. You built my emotional connection with Bali. That's why I came back for 10 times. That's all. That's the simple definition. And I hate the feeling that we in PR, we just sell more products by creating brand reputation. Bali itself is a brand. Destination brand. National brand. And it's not just about Bali people. It's about the Indonesian people because you're so proud of Bali. And the packaging of Bali is the way that people feel about Bali. And you put on that packaging your hospitality, your care, your attention, and your love. Dan pan samun shine on me, the empty street. I belong to the place we used to meet. And I'm here to sing that song for you, as you know, from the bottom of my heart, my love for Bali. And you guys are demonstrating the best responsible brand reputation in the world. Thank you so much.
Okay. Because we planned for something else, but it's okay. Okay. So now I'm moving to to Adrian. So Adrian,
avoiding eye contact in the hope that he would skip over me and we could get some lower energy in the room, lower the bar. But okay, I'll go next.
no,
then.
you can do it. You can do it, Adrian.
Yeah.
So tell us, how can we integrate this sustainability into corporate communication strategies? How we make it right? How we make it happen?
Well, look, first of all, thanks very much for having me here. And inviting us to come and talk on a panel. Look, I think one of the first things that businesses need to do, which I would love to say they are all actively doing as you are, is to really embrace it properly rather than start talking about it. And
Yeah.
I think we've got a real problem at the moment, and we're at a bit of an inflection point where businesses are being actually quite publicly asked to choose. So if you consider the anti-woke movement that's risen globally, I think it's driven by a very US narrative, but it is a global phenomenon that there is now a backlash against what we see as woke. And I think a lot of businesses are being questioned for their role in society and whether they are a woke business or a non-woke business.
Yeah.
And I generally think this is a problem, actually, because we've already seen a number of big businesses, specifically in the US, say we are now stepping back from our CSR strategy. We're going to stop doing purpose-driven brand work. And I think this is a problem. So I wanted to start quickly with this problem of woke and how we get beyond that, because it's not going anywhere. And certainly with political changes in the US, it's probably going to accelerate in the Western world over the next 4 years. So the real problem I have with the woke business or not argument is threefold. It's a dangerous, dangerous argument that we have to deconstruct. And most of the problem is that it's oversimplified. The first problem is that it's a binary fallacy. To say, do you have woke businesses or non-woke businesses is just a binary fallacy. That's not the question. Since we've had business, since it's existed, it's played an active role in society, right? It just always has. I'll pick an example from, because I lived in Italy for a while, so this is just one I'm personally interested in. If you think back to the 15th century, 14th century Renaissance in Europe, where a huge explosion in scientific knowledge, art, philosophy happened, driven largely out of Western Europe, but a large part of it in Italy. Those scientists, those inventors, those painters, they didn't pop up out of nowhere. They didn't suddenly find they had cash. They were funded by rich banking families like the Medici. The Medici teaming up with the Leonardo da Vinci and getting a picture done is essentially a latter-day version of an awesome collab with an influencer, all right? So you had businesses that far back doing it. If you think about my country's shameful and very embarrassing period of colonialization, the main instrument of that colonialization was not the British Army, it was the East India Company, a business. So have an active role in society that's often extremely negative. A more recent example, the Wall Street panic of 1907. It was J.P. Morgan that bailed out the US government. In fact, J.P. Morgan personally bailed out the US government twice. So when the term CSR was coined in 1953 in a book called The Responsibilities of the Social Business, that wasn't a new invention. It was more just a codification of ethical, responsible business practices that have been going on for centuries. So it's not a question of should business be woke or not. It's not a question of should business play a role in society. It's how does it play that role in society. The second issue is around availability bias, which we all suffer from. It's our tendency to only remember small fragments of information and that to be the salient part in any argument that we make. For instance, a good example of the availability bias, if I asked you whether you are more scared of being eaten by a shark or that a piece of an airplane will fall off it mid-flight, plunge through the air and land on your head, most people would say I'm more scared of the shark. But you are 30 times more likely to die from an airplane part falling on your head than you are a shark attack. The same thing is happening with this woke argument. The shark in this example is the woke and culture wars kind of story, but there is all sorts of other stuff that's going on. I mean, just last week I was chatting to the team at Lay's that did the Farm Equal campaign in India. Fantastic campaign that happened last year and is still ongoing now. That doesn't get headlines globally. It's never going to get more attention than Donald Trump's next tweet. So we have to understand that availability bias is skewing this argument away, making us think it's about woke or not woke. It isn't. There's loads of good stuff going on. And the final third, I promise I'm almost done. The final third flaw in the argument really is about taxonomy. Woke is just now a very inaccurate and dangerous word which has baggage. Depending on which side of any political spectrum you sit on, woke has lots of baggage and meaning to it which isn't helpful. In our industry, we're smart enough, I think, to know that there is a huge spectrum of social responsibility, sustainability work that businesses can do. Right? We have CSR, we have corporate activism, we have purpose-driven brands, and all of these things operate in different ways. Now, granted, corporate activism in certain countries is going to be a little bit harder. I suspect a lot of companies in the US will be much more nervous talking about immigration now than they were 3 or 4 months ago. But CSR, purpose-driven brands, I see accelerating and still getting a great deal of attention. So that, for me, is, I think, the first part of your answer, first part of the answer to your question of what businesses need to do is lean in right now and not be scared of this big debate over woke versus not woke.
Okay, thank you. And going to the fourth panelist, this is the very important question, right? The brand choose to become sustainability, and then they do the claims, but a lot of people say that, there's a lot of research say that it's not always lead to increase of sales.
That's a very interesting question, Yoris. And I'd like to echo what my colleagues on stage have already said, beginning with what Silvia said, that of course people are changing right now and they do demand that brands out there are sustainable. But slapping on a label that says that you're 100% recyclable or that you're following sustainable practices does not automatically lead to sales. There are many other contexts that we need to understand that affect how people want to purchase or patronize your brand. So for example, even if we do have consumers who are alert and demand that brands become sustainable, once you do slap on that label, they're going to be very vigilant. They're going to make sure that you walk your talk and that your label does not remain just wordings on your bottle. So there is the possibility of skepticism where people who find out that you're not walking your talk, even if you claim to be, or even if you are indeed practicing sustainability but not communicating it well enough, then maybe you might turn off these consumers. On the other hand, on the other side of the spectrum, there might be consumers as well who do not have enough access to information about sustainability and probably do not appreciate it as much as they ought to. And so therefore, part of our communication ought to be in educating them the value of sustainability. That's one. The second point I'd like to make on why sustainability claims do not necessarily lead to sales is because we are competing. Brands that are sustainable compete in a category of other brands that are also promoting different unique selling points. And perhaps those unique selling points are more valuable to them over sustainability. For instance, I do understand that some sustainable products might have a heavier price point on the shelf because they have been embracing sustainable procedures, but in so doing have to pad up their prices. What if your product is indeed much more pricey than the brand that they've already been accustomed to? Do they shift? Are they ready to pay the extra price for your sustainable product? On the other hand, There might be a preconceived notion that if you do practice sustainability, that some other benefit of your product is compromised, right? Because you followed certain, maybe you've changed your raw material. Maybe as a result, you're not as effective as you used to be because of this new raw material, right? And therefore, part of your communication needs to inform your consumers on how you are still very beneficial while remaining sustainable. In fact, as we describe the consumers who demand the sustainability from brands today, they probably are already thinking that all brands need to be sustainable, and therefore, if you just communicate yourself or hinge your product on the value of sustainability, then it might not be enough to compel consumers to shift to your brand because they demand it from all brands anyway. Right? Or maybe they're just loyal to the brands that they've been using for the last 20 years. So those mindsets do affect how well your brand performs in that category. The last point I'd like to really state why sustainability claims don't always lead to increased sales is this. It's also possible that while you're practicing sustainability efforts, it's possible that the way you communicate those sustainable efforts do not resonate with your consumers, do not mirror the values that they have. Maybe you're being very technical or scientific. Maybe you're not being emotional or carrying out, as Mr. Me mentioned here, a way of connecting with your consumers that resonates emotionally. Maybe as a result, they don't care for your product, even if you're doing good, because the way you communicate that good is not penetrating their minds or even their hearts. So 3 things. It's about really your ability to compel your consumers about the value of sustainability, right? And discouraging skepticism. Number 2, it's really evaluating your brand versus the other brands who might not be practicing sustainability but have other unique selling points and benefits to sell that might overshadow yours. And third, it's the ability of your own brand to communicate in a way that connects meaningfully to your consumers. Those 3, I think, are reasons why, or watch outs for us in the brands, for example, to be able to ensure or give our brands the best possible chances of being patronized by consumers.
All right. So I'll get back on the communicate well later. I have some slides. But now I want to move back to Silvia. Can you give us some example from a brand who you think already become sustainable brand?
To me, yeah, there are 2 kinds of brands. Native committed brands, which are the brands who have put positive impact at the heart of their decisions, at the source of their decisions. They put their mission above short-term profits. And this is the example of Patagonia. This is the claim of the CEO of Patagonia. Their business is the planet. And you have another kind of brands who have put sustainability as a strategy, as an opportunity. Yeah. And to me, I will speak about the Nike. Nike, for example, of course, is committed against racism, Black Lives Matter movement in the States, against or for women equality or disability, but they have problems about forced labor with the minority community, Chinese community, the Uyghur in China. They are having problems with social rights, and they are boycotting the brand. But if I focus on the good example to me, which is the native committed brand like Patagonia, they have concrete examples aligned with their vision. For example, they decided nearly 30 years ago, in 1996, to produce with 100% organic cotton. And it was much more costly, 15% more. And marketing professionals were there, what we are going to do? But it was a good decision, and this decision was valuable. They went to circular economy, recycled products, second-hand products. Another important initiative, during the Black Friday, they say, don't buy this jacket, going against overconsumption. They work with influencers that share their values. And something which is incredible, when the chairman of Patagonia was going to retire, he said, either I sell my company or I introduce into the stock exchange. And say no, because I'm not going to be assured that they are going to follow their vision. And the stock exchange is too much pressure. So they created a non-profit fund, and he donated, with the agreement of his family, the company to this non-profit fund. This is, to me, a clear example of a committed company, and is valuable, it's worth, it has payoff, because it's valuable. Today, the value of Patagonia is $3 billion.
Yeah, excellent. And it's amazing because it's even like become a study case in Harvard Business Review. So it's really walk the talk. What they did, they also really, what they say, they really did it. So this brings us to the point about greenwashing. I saw some crowd like smiling. Maybe who will answer this? I think Norman. Greenwashing.
Yes, what about greenwashing again?
Yeah, I mean like, what about the brand who claim, right? They are like claiming like, making a false statement like we are a sustainable brand, but actually that's a greenwashing. So what do you take on that?
All right, certainly if brands, again, as I mentioned, if they slap on some label that suggests that they are sustainable, or on their website, they've got to really act on it. They've got to demonstrate and prove to the very skeptical members of the community that they are indeed practicing sustainable efforts, right? And there are many ways of ensuring that too, right? So first off, it's very important, as we all know, for brands to be very authentic and honest. And you can do that by setting your measurable goals and chronicling your progress, right? Making sure that the people find out, maybe let's say we declare that by a certain year we will reduce consumption of water by this much. Then you chronicle that journey towards that particular goal for everyone to see. So being transparent that way helps a lot. And by the way, if you don't meet your objective, that's also fine, right? Document all your challenges, share that with the audience, help them appreciate your efforts in trying to achieve those goals nonetheless, despite the challenges or the odds. So authenticity and transparency are very key, I think, in making sure that people don't perceive you to be greenwashing.
Yeah, so there's a difference between like greenwashing and it's like not able to get what you plan, right? But if it's you, the brand accidentally doing greenwashing, is it ethical, or it can be like, you know, going to the court or something?
All right, it's certainly ethical. In some countries, it's legal. In the Philippines, for example, and this is led by the Association of Accredited Advertising Agencies, we've placed it in our Code of Ethics, and also in the Code of Ethics of the Ad Standards Council, that if you mislead people with claims that aren't true, then your license can be revoked. So we practice self-regulation that way to ensure that our consumers are not fooled by any false claims, and that brands are not misrepresenting themselves by claiming this and that when they are not.
Okay, you want to add something?
Yeah.
I agree with all of that. I think it's so important to get this right, because the speed and aggressiveness with which brands will get hit with a greenwashing hammer these days is incredible. And I think it's really important to think through that filter. I agree with everything you just said, but I think there's 3 steps, or 3 filters to look at as brands approach CSR, sustainable brand, purpose, however you want to label it. The first is materiality. Does this issue have a real level of relevance for what we make, what we do, who we employ, or who we sell to? Does it have really material impact on the business? Patagonia is a great example, right? It's great for you to be able to say, the Earth is our only shareholder. You're about outdoor activities. A little bit hard for KFC to do that. So I think you've got to decide whether there is great materiality to your business. For instance, Unilever are doing fantastic work right now in Thailand with the trans community. Okay? That has huge relevance to them because the trans community is buying their skin creams. So they have a customer base that's really important to them. It's also an issue that their employees care about, really high materiality. So materiality is filter 1. Filter 2 is contribution. If we're going to wade in on an issue, can we make an active contribution? Can we make it better? And raising awareness these days tends not to be enough. You're going to have to do something that either drives funding, drives behavioral change, or shifts a policy agenda, right? Again, Unilever, great example, they've made a product for the trans community. If you think about high-profile examples of where this has gone wrong, you know, we might think of a certain beer that is light, that sells very well across America, that got in a lot of trouble for associating itself with the trans issue. I think a little bit unfairly, but it did. The level of materiality for a light mass-market beer to the trans issue is very low. The level of contribution of what you can do as a beer company to that issue, very low. So you can see why there's struggle there. So you've got materiality, you've got contribution, and then the third thing is coalition. Very few businesses can go this alone. Very few businesses were set up to tackle social issues. If you're set up to make beer, you're set up to make beer. You're not actually designed to be able to solve social issues around gender. So you need regulators, academics, NGOs, and influencers to be in a coalition for you to be able to tackle these issues together in a well-prepared manner. If you go through materiality, contribution, coalition, I think there's a fairly good chance you're not going to get hit with a greenwashing hammer.
Yeah. Thank you so much. Mr. Mi, you want to add something?
Yeah, I'd like to add to this point by providing you with a fact. And it happens to be quite a sad fact that, PwC, PricewaterhouseCoopers, 2 years ago, they did global research on ESG and sustainability reporting, and it found that 70% of stakeholders or investors, because ESG and sustainability reporting has become a mandate for publicly listed companies. 70% of stakeholders don't believe in the reports that they see, meaning they have a high level of doubt behind the way that entities are reporting. That leads to my proposal to all of us that we may have a serious discussion about the way we report. We build sustainability reporting, and we need special expertise to do that properly. Otherwise, we keep our position where we are being seen as somebody who are telling lies, and that's quite a sad fact. So sustainability reporting should be added into our capability framework going forward. So that's my proposal.
Thank you. And coming back to Adrian, as we know that in the South Asia Pacific, we face a unique geopolitical and social challenges. What do you take on this matter?
On how to tailor for localization, I think it's incredibly important. There are very few sustainability campaigns or brand campaigns that can operate globally now. And I think it's been a difficult period for businesses. If you look at the last 10 years, 15 years, you've had this drive for businesses to create values-based brands. We've all got value statements at the center of the business, like courage, commitment, doing the right thing, these kind of things. We spent a long time inculcating those into our businesses, And then suddenly globalization has started going in the opposite direction that we thought. And when we have a value like doing the right thing, well, that means 5 different things in 5 different countries. And if you're operating in a couple of the very big ones, they mean the exact opposite often. So having global values-based systems that can't flex down to local implementation is a nightmare. I think the best campaigns and the best activity that we see now is at the local level. And I think that's partly because, yes, we all want to tackle big issues, the issues that are talked about a lot in media, but actually what we need to be doing to be effective is not focusing on the issue, but focusing on a problem to which we can provide a solution. Yes. There's a big difference to saying we are pro-gender equality versus identifying that female farmers in India have products that were designed by men for men and therefore are struggling to farm, and then creating proper farming tools designed by women for women. That solves gender equality and addresses issues in supply chain and farming. A commitment to gender equality up top just doesn't really mean anything. So I think that need to focus on solving issues and fixing problems necessitates you to dig down into the local level. The other thing that I think is really important in working across South Asia is the range of opinions, populations, diversity of backgrounds, differences in education styles, religions, etc. And that necessitates much, much better research. And guess what? We're pretty bad at research. In a year where we've had more elections than we've had in God knows how many years, the majority of them we've called wrong. And that tells you a lot about our inability to do research. And I think primary research specifically is deeply flawed. There's a great quote from David Ogilvy. I've written it down, I think, because it's a long one. Oh yeah, the problem with research is that people don't think what they feel, don't say what they think, and don't do what they say. That's always been true, but we now have an even greater inability to actually reach people and ask them questions. So we have to fundamentally change how we do primary research, and yes, we have to couple it with much more sophisticated understanding of our audience through monitoring social media, because when we're monitoring social media right now, we're listening to angry people over here and angry people over there and missing 90% of the people in the middle. So we have to work out how to use, thank you one person, we have to, that's my biggest round of applause so far. Yeah. I have a fan base. We have to combine more sophisticated research capabilities, both in primary and in social listening. That's almost certainly going to be using AI to really understand not what people are telling us they think, but how they actually feel. Because to your point, it's about hearts and minds. It's not just a rational argument. We've got to understand how people feel, not what they're saying. So we've got to really understand how people feel, but also how they're behaving, and then design our campaigns around that. And without that, I think it's really difficult in South Asia to make your campaigns properly land.
Thank you. And Silvia, talking about your brand, BNP Paribas, now it's, I think, already several years consistently doing that. Can you share with us like how to make it like a lot of brands in everywhere in the world, like Butterfly, you know, they are not committed for the consistency. They're thinking about this issue and then another issue and then go to another issue until that, like 7 years later, they are not communicating well for the things that they want it to be.
To me, we spoke about greenwashing. To me, greenwashing is like people washing. Don't tell me that you are good. Show me your good actions. That's it. That's it. It's through actions and proofs and concrete stuff. My company, so BNP Paribas, is a bank, leading European bank. It's present in more than 60 countries, 190,000 employees, and is committed, and his commitment is embedded into the business, which is important. First, we have policies to finance or not finance according our policies, coal, oil palm, and things like that. So we are going to finance energy transition projects and not, we stop financing certain projects that are against those policies. We have commitments in terms of inclusion, diversity. Our ESCO members cannot participate in a roundtable if there is no women speaking. For example, this is a commitment signed. So we have concrete actions. Procurement is inclusive, and so on. And in terms of communication, we have been committed since for 6 years now on responsible communication at 3 levels. First of all, we have public engagements. We have signed climate programs. We have chaired Alliance for Commercial Communication, for Energy Transition. We have code of conduct with best practices, clear commitments, public ones. Also, we have a governance for responsible communication. We have head of communications, head of responsible communications. We have a network of ambassadors that are relaying the information, sharing best practice, and we have also a 3-pillar strategy with KPIs, okay? About narrative, first pillar. So what are the contents that we are producing? Are they promoting dialogue? Are they with stereotypes or not? How we can transparency, keep integrity, and so on. We have also second pillar, production and distribution. When we produce a stand or we produce an advertising campaign, we try to do it in the best conditions and reducing our footprint. We are not going to travel to Argentina to film an advertising campaign, for example. This is finished. And the third pillar is about events. So we have the whole process of the events, since the location, to the materials, to the catering. This is all taking into account this responsible communication, because we think that we have a clear responsibility on this. And our salaries are aligned according to the achievements of the KPIs or not. If the KPIs are not achieved, our salary, we don't have bonus, for example.
Wow, amazing. So I'm going to have additional questions. Just now I listened about corporate activism. And one of the best example for me is Body Shop. I want to know from the panelists, what do you think? Because I myself, I really like the brand. I think they do a lot of good stuff on the corporate activism, but now they fail. Any comments on that?
Yeah, the Body Shop story has been around a long time, and they started off a long time ago. That's why they caught that space in our mind that they did it for a good reason. I just wanted to use the story of Body Shop to share with you one perspective that relate to the earlier question. Today we are moving away from share of voice. We are shifting toward what we call the share of choice, because we by talking more doesn't mean that we create more choice, especially in controversial industries. So by seizing your opportunity at the right point, right time, talking to the right audience with the right message, and we at the end of the day, our job is to work on proof points to substantiate the message. All my life, 27 years, what I've been doing is to build substantiation for the messaging that we are providing. So to me, today, share of choice is more important than share of voice, and that's my comment, my key takeaway from it.
Okay. Now I have another point. Consumers may notice that some eco-friendly brands come at the premium price. But I have this story. Anybody knows about this brand? Okay. So when I go to US, my nephew Gen Z or millennials, they ask me to buy these shoes. I also don't know about this brand until I go to the US and my nephew, yeah. So you can see, like, I think this brand didn't communicate well, but the Gen Z is looking for this brand. They ask us to buy it for them. Because if you see on the shelf, it's, they put the carbon footprint, how much? And they say, break a sweat, not the planet, in our everyday running shoes. And I just found out about this brand that time, and I tried, I put it on. It's very nice. But what do you guys think? Like, they don't really communicate, but the Gen Z find them.
I'm happy to go with that. So I've got two 10-year-olds, and I don't know if anyone else has kids that are obsessed with drinking Prime.
Yes.
But yeah, very strange, weird, fizzy drink that came out of the US. Exactly the same. Zero marketing, zero paid budget, almost zero PR. It's just been sponsored by the likes of Mr. Beast and various other influencers who are exceptionally good at marketing to children without marketing to children officially, and tend to create these sort of products and sell them direct. And it's another example of the balkanization of the internet and how you can have messages reach small bubbles of people but not the rest. This, in marketing terms, is the same thing. You can hyper-target an age group, a demographic, or a country through social media and not really be seen by the rest. So I think it's partly a factor of social media, and probably partly deliberate choice on the brand as well.
Well, just to add to that, I think they've been successful in communicating, regardless of how little that may be, by empowering the consumers to join this, to rally them to help out. No? So don't break the planet. No? So that's a message that resonates a lot with the youth. So engaging them that way and encouraging them to join you in your efforts by choosing this brand helps a lot.
Okay, thank you everybody.